Hi, this is a lesson video on the topic on carbohydrates. The lesson objective for this topic is to be able to state the chemical elements that make up a carbohydrate molecule, give examples of food sources that provides you with carbohydrates, state the functions of carbohydrates in the body, define simple and complex carbohydrates, and give various examples in terms of the food source and types of simple and complex carbohydrates. Basically, a carbohydrate molecule consists of the following elements: carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. They are formed in the plants during the process of photosynthesis, where plants uses carbon dioxide, water, in the presence of chlorophyll and sunlight to produce glucose and oxygen. And the first function of carbohydrates basically is to serve as the primary source of energy for your body. So during digestion, carbohydrates are broken down into glucose, where it is absorbed by the body to be used as energy. And the excess carbohydrates is stored as glycogen, generally in your muscles and liver. And 1 gram of carbohydrates will produce 4 kilocalories of energy per gram. Okay. The other function of carbohydrates is to aid in the digestion of food. We are talking generally about non-starch polysaccharides, which is your NSP, that consists of dietary fibers. These dietary fibers helps to regulate your bowel movement so that you can remove your solid waste, which is your feces, effectively. So these are the various types of carbohydrates and how they are related to one another. Generally, it is divided into simple and complex. Now, your simple consists of your monosaccharides and your disaccharides, which we will go into further details later, and also your polysaccharides. So your simple carbohydrates are your monosaccharides. Okay, these are your single sugar molecules. Your disaccharides are also simple carbohydrates, but they are made up of 2 sugar units or monosaccharides chemically bond together. For the polysaccharides, it is made up of more than 10 monosaccharides bond together. Okay. So there are 3 types of monosaccharides. Generally, they are glucose, fructose, and galactose. Now, glucose is the most important monosaccharides as they provide the body with the main source of energy. And they can be found in various vegetables and honey. Fructose are generally found in fruits. Okay, so that's why you notice that the spelling is FRU. Okay, it is generally known as fruit sugar in layman's term, and it's the sweetest amongst the monosaccharides. And lastly, amongst the monosaccharides are your galactose, which exists in milk products, okay, that is bond with glucose to form lactose. Okay. So in terms of disaccharides, there are also 3 types. Okay, generally it depends on what monosaccharides they are being bound to. So for sucrose, it is bound with glucose and fructose. Maltose, it is 2 units of glucose. And lactose, which is the sugar that is found in milk, it can be glucose and galactose. Now, in your national exam, you are required to remember what the disaccharides are made up of. Okay, so please remember these slides. So lactose is generally, as mentioned, found in the dairy products, such as your milk. Okay. Maltose is the sugar found in molasses, okay, or germinating barley and cooked sweet potato. This can be your sources of maltose. Sucrose, okay, generally found in your cane sugar, okay, honey, and certain vegetables like cabbage and carrot. In terms of polysaccharides, there's a few types of polysaccharides. Uh, Firstly is your starch that is found in plants, glycogen. Non-starch polysaccharides are your cellulose and your pectin, right? So for starch, basically it is made up of hundreds of glucose molecules chemically joined together to form a chain-like molecule. It can be found in most cereal and tubers. Tubers are referring to your potatoes and your sweet potatoes. Okay, these are your what we know as starchy food. Okay, starch is produced by plants during photosynthesis. Okay, after photosynthesis, okay, the plant store excess glucose in the form of starch. Okay, so basically, starch is a storage mechanism for the plants. Where they store the starch in, they store the starch in places like your rice, potatoes, or etc. So basically, just for your knowledge, there's a few kinds of polysaccharides. You have the starch that is found in plants. You have glycogen that is found in animals, where they is being used as an energy reserve. You have cellulose, which is the material that is used by the plant to build their cell wall, right? So the cellulose, which is the first type of non-starch polysaccharides that you'll be learning, this is the cell wall material that provides support for the plants. Generally, your body cannot digest such cellulose, such nutrients. And they can be found in fruits and vegetables, generally plant product like your whole grains and beans. So, like I mentioned, cellulose, because they cannot be digested by your body, it is generally used to assist your body to remove solid waste from your body. You know? Because cellulose are able to absorb water to make your feces bulky, and this bulkiness of the feces is helps the feces to be removed from your body easily. Pectin is another kind of non-starch polysaccharides. Uh, in, Compared to cellulose that is insoluble, pectin is soluble, and they can be found in certain fruits like apple, apricots, and citrus fruits. Okay, and generally it helps to lower down your blood sugar levels, and thus helps to prevent diabetes and lower blood cholesterol levels. Glycogen, okay, is the energy reserve that your body have when there is excess glucose. So glycogen can be stored in your muscles and your liver. And if there's too much glycogen in your body, it will be converted into fats. Okay. And so these are the relationship between the different types of carbohydrates in a nutshell, right? So what are the ways to reduce the intake of simple carbohydrates? Because we all know that if you take in too much excess simple carbohydrates, it will lead to various conditions like obesity, and you will have a higher risk of getting diabetes. Okay, so some of the ways to reduce sugar intake can be limit your simple sugar, carbohydrates food such as your ice cream, sweets. Okay, all these are empty calories because they lack of nutrients. And choose water, milk, and fruit juice over sweetened drinks. Okay, use spread sparingly, because spreads like kaya, jams, they contains a lot of sugar. The other ways of reducing simple carbohydrates intake is to look out for labels that has all these nutritional claims. A more drastic way to reduce simple carbohydrates intake is the use of artificial sweeteners, where you sweeten your food without the concern of taking in excess carbohydrates. Okay. Eating whole grain food, because whole grain provides you with many other kinds of nutrients besides simple carbohydrates. It has many kinds of vitamins, dietary fibers, and also it helps to lower your glycemic index. Okay, so basically, what is glycemic index? Glycemic index refers to the impact of the food on your blood glucose level. So a food that has high GI index means that when it is being eaten, your blood sugar goes up very, very quickly. Now, this is undesirable because it will lead to diabetes. Okay, if you have prolonged high glucose levels. So you always want to consume food that is of low GI index. So when you have insufficient intake of carbohydrates, your body will use up the glycogen, which is your energy reserves. Okay, if that has used up, it will go to your fats. Okay, to extract the energy. And lastly, if all the energy reserves in the glycogen and fats are being uh, used up, the body will start to break down the proteins from the muscles. And this will lead to undernutrition. So you'll experience people losing weight in a very sickly manner, like the gentleman over here, where you have very skinny legs and a very sickly appearance. Oh. However, if you have an excessive intake of carbohydrates, you run a higher risk of developing diabetes. Now, in your NFS course, you generally focus on type 2 diabetes, which is yeah, which is a prolonged high glucose blood glucose level um, in your bloodstream. Okay, so if you have very high blood glucose level for a prolonged period of time, you are considered as type 2 diabetes. Okay, and these people tend to have an inactive lifestyle, and their diet is high in fats, sugar, and salt. Okay, generally they are obese, and generally, if they are being identified as type 2 diabetes, they need to have a low fat, sugar, and salt diet, okay, in order to maintain the low blood glucose level. So that's all for this topic. I hope you have a better idea of the functions and about carbohydrates. Thank you.